From the Black Swan Media Studios, deep inside a secret underground bunker, we're speaking to freedom-loving patriots,
God save the Queen, man,
and the world. Welcome to the Resistance. This is John Crump, live.
Yo, what is up, guys? Back from a little time off. I'll be here all this week. The next week, I don't think I'm here again. And then for 2 weeks after that, and then out another week because it's summertime. Oh my goodness. We already got a super chat. Ain't that the sweetest thing? I don't know. I can't even do that. Okay. Thank you, Rose Blight, one of our great channel members and one of the people that support me not only on this channel but on John Crump News. And thank you so much. Okay. And she's been busy on the farm. I wish on the farm. I was born. The first place I lived was on a farm, but I moved when I was like 1, so I haven't lived on a farm since then. Let me bring on my co-host of the day and of yesterday and the day before.
Crumpy, living on the CIA farm, I don't think counts as a farm.
Okay. No, it's not that type of. It's not the CIA farm. Oh, by the way, if you watch Habitual Line Crosser,
yes.
Did you watch
today? You had a new episode today?
Yeah, watch it. That's basically what it is like in threat assessment meetings.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen that. He talked about something. Don't get me wrong, big fan of Habitual Line Crosser. I think I'm gonna make a video calling him out on something that he slightly misrepresented.
Okay.
It was like the Wagner Group going up against a couple dozen SFs and getting their ass kicked. Yeah, the AC-130s, Apache helicopters, all that.
Battle of Conoco Field. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, but it wasn't like 4 dudes against 500 Russians that ended up in body bags. It was AC-130s and Apache helicopters.
Well, they called in the big guns, and they went into each other. They said, the Russians said, "Oh, it's not us," and they knew it was them.
We're like, all right, fine, it's not you guys. We're in.
Yeah, well, basically, it was just to you send a message. Don't do this.
It was the find out portion of the phrase.
Yeah, it was. Hey, you know what? You're gonna find out, and this is gonna be a message for you never ever to try to take a U.S. military base again.
Yes,
and they got they got crushed, like over 300 dead out of the 500 troops. 300 of them died.
Yeah, you don't want to be on the ground with an AC-130 overhead.
Yeah, Apache helicopters, drones. They had even F-22s took part.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of find out in that.
Yeah. And we have Tim.
Hello.
Tim, the non-military.
How's it going?
Not bad. How you doing, man?
Very well. Very well. And
now that Tim's on the stream, the IQ doubled.
Yeah, did you get the so did Rich send you the patent and everything?
Yeah, he did. So I had missed that article. I don't know why I didn't. You just did that one, so I went over and I was just scanning through the article, reading it.
Yeah, I can send you the letter too, the denial letter.
Yeah, that's what I haven't seen. That would be really interesting to see. That.
Yeah, I mean, I have it. I just didn't post it.
Didn't publish it. And we got our buddy, JST Bob.
Yeah, they entered it into evidence, so it's not like they didn't know.
Oh, so it's there now. Yeah, I'll have to look at it. That's interesting. I wasn't I always wondered what the history was back there prior to Rare Breed purchasing the patent, and I would be interested to find out more about that because I know they obviously bought it from someone.
So are you going to tell us why you're interested?
I've just been involved in similar tech for a while, so
I will tell you the reason why the TACCOM 3MR didn't get the same fate is because it has a disconnect bar.
Yeah. But what I don't understand though is how the TACCOM 3MR works. I've talked to a guy involved with that. I've looked at the patent for it, and I can look at it and I cannot tell you how that works. To me, I'll say it shouldn't work. It shouldn't work.
All I got to hear is Hoffman can't figure out how it works. It's got to be witchcraft.
So it's unclear to me how it functions because it has no locking bar. That's the big thing. That's the only difference between it and Rare Breed trigger, really. Between the two.
Yeah, and that's why one is legal and one's not.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As far as the ATF sees it, at least.
As far as the ATF, yeah.
Yeah. So.
But that was the determining factor why the TACCON got a letter and the AR1 did not get a letter.
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as I can tell, the TACCON shouldn't work, and the AR1 or the 223 patent trigger should work. So, I would like to have a TACCON trigger to look at and try to figure out how it works, because just looking at it, it uses the same reset mechanism that the 223 patent trigger uses. So it uses the hammer as an intermediary force transfer device between the bolt carrier and the trigger to reset the trigger, but then there's nothing to lock the trigger to the rear. There's no locking bar. So that's why I don't understand how it works. I just looking at it, it seems like a very fine, I don't know. They claim it's a very fine balance getting it to work. It'll also be very precisely ground and everything. And it's just barely functions, but just me looking at it, I don't know. To me, it shouldn't work.
That company wanted to sponsor me. The company that does the distribution for the TACCON.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to sponsor me, but
so they
I'm under the microscope right now. So
yeah, exactly. So are they currently selling those right now?
Yeah, they still are.
Okay, so when I looked, I guess they were out of stock. It looked to me like they were almost defunct, but I think that they're doing it. The company behind that, basically, that's how they got started. But the company behind that, they do a lot of military contracts and stuff, and they do a lot of really interesting things. So
yeah, well, they're not distributing it. There's a third party.
Is it a sole third party distributing it? They're like a sole distributor. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
I'll get you the name. But they wanted me to. They wanted to sponsor me, but like a year ago.
Oh wow. Okay.
But the whole thing, so with the CRF stuff. So I'm kind of, I know I'm under the microscope. I don't want to do anything that they would even change a law to try.
Yeah. Yeah, their trigger is very interesting, and they've been doing it at this point for like a decade, basically. So they started, I think, like 2013.
Yeah, they have another trigger that's based on the same patent, and that's what I mean. If it was just a TACCOM 3MR, I would be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But it wasn't. They wanted me to promote both.
They have another trigger that they added a locking bar to, I think.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, but they wanted me to promote both, and that's where it's like, you don't have a letter for both, so.
Yeah, it's and letters don't mean so much anymore anyway. They could be reversed. So
yeah.
Yeah, but if you're in front of a judge, it might mean something.
Well, I mean, yes, and then no. I mean, it depends on the judge. The judge might not even care.
I'm not, like a wise man once said to me, if you think you know what's going to happen in a trial, you don't bet on it.
Oh, I wonder who said that.
Yeah, don't know. Same guy that said "Hail to the Queen." I don't know. So Richard, I'm sorry, Tim. I got to get this right. Tim, can you answer a very important question? Are you wearing shoes?
No.
Now, you just don't wear shoes at all, ever?
Pretty much.
You don't step on PLA parts in your shop and go,
all the time. It's not that bad. It's just a matter of practice. So yeah.
Yeah, I am actually famous for shooting in flip-flops.
I know, and that's like the worst of both worlds, though. So like, just commit. You need to fully commit, and go all.
No, there's red
motions.
ants. I need something to kill the red ants with.
Those poor ants have so many problems to deal with.
Yeah, and the smell of my feet.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
what are you printing with right now?
Oh, I got a rare breed update. If you want to hear a rare breed update, I'm going to talk about rare breed.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, this just came out. They have a video status conference regarding the defendant's motions. They're trying to do a motion to quash some discovery. I don't think they're going to get it on June 23rd, 2023 at 11 a.m.
Okay, but weren't they trying to move the discovery or like what they can research by like a couple of days?
Yeah.
So what is the pivotal occurrence in history?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Apparently there's something there. I mean, I would guess there's something there.
John, if I said the auto key card and rare breed trigger are the same case, what would you say to me?
Yeah.
All right, now let me throw some more information in there. The rare breed, they got a C&D letter, cease and desist, say, hey, don't do this, and they kept doing. I mean that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's not a denial letter anywhere in the auto key card, and there's actually the ATF saying that it is okay, and yet that's the one they're prosecuting, which doesn't make any sense to me. But
so, all right,
I'm not an evil.
Justin and Matt Hoover both said they called ATF and asked them if the auto key card was okay, and they said yes.
And then
meanwhile,
the government's denial for the government's the government's opposition for motion of acquittal was like they never called the ATF. It's like, yeah, they did. Dude. Like, that's a straight up lie.
But all right, so
they said,
FRT is based on a.
They said if they had any, if they were concerned, they should have called the ATF to check to make sure it's okay. It's like, are you trying to play mind games?
Yeah.
Like, oh, they should have done that. Well, they did do that. Well, we're not saying they didn't do that. We're just saying they should have. Well, you're implying that they didn't do it, which is really. I don't know.
So let's first off, FRT never had a letter from the ATF. In fact, the patent that the FRT was based on, the ATF said, "Yeah, no, that's a machine gun."
Yeah,
is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. Now, from a perspective of intent, that's pretty bad, I would think. If you have a letter saying, but if you have no letter at all, if they didn't get a denial letter, and if their position was it wasn't a machine gun, never was, then not having a letter would not show any intent, because their position is it's not a machine gun, not a regulated device. But the fact that the trigger is based on a patent, and a previous trigger under the same design basically had it in denial could show intent, that you knew that it wasn't okay. Because I hate to say illegal, because the letters are being written by random people in some agency. So yeah, exactly. The problem is the court system takes that agency seriously, unfortunately.
We have breaking news too. I'm going to bring it up here.
Now that's rewarding.
So we can watch it live. That's commercial.
Required.
Oh, okay. I was thinking for a second. That'd be interesting.
A bear climbed up the side of the house. A black bear, like a brown bear too, which climbed up through a window.
There's a bear.
Climbing through the window. That's scary.
Holy crap!
Hungry.
That's why I have a 10 mil Glock.
That's a brown bear too. Brown bears are Not like black bears are, Hope no one's in that house. Look at that.
He's having trouble getting down.
Yeah.
Needs a ladder.
This is the find out portion.
Francis kicked by Ting Ting says, bear waiting to be put in the freezer of my house. He's the Raven. He is looking for illegal guns. Walker Customs. That's why we need ARs.
Right.
Shooting gallery gang, then yeah, that bear would be a dead bear. Sport brand. I bet they left porridge on the table.
This bed's just right. Is that the dog in the house barking?
I think.
Yeah.
I think so. Bears do not like dogs even when they're tiny.
It doesn't sound like a big dog. I hate to say it, I see the damage on the woodwork from the claws. I can just see it.
Yeah.
So, Tim, what? You're using a Canon?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to get. I'm gonna have to unplug me for a second. Just a second. Yeah, I'm still here, of course. I'm gonna go there. Perfect. And let's go here. Let's go there. Yeah, I'm using a Canon. So.
Which Canon are you using?
M50. So
that's what I have. I have an M50.
Yeah, it's a solid little camera.
Yeah, it's a solid little camera. You can get the adapter to put on the full size lenses. I have some like 70Ds, 60Ds. But I usually just grab my M50 just because it's
small, light, easy to run. Yeah. And I actually have the EO, whatever the size is, the EF lenses. I don't even use the adapter because this is the only camera I have. I run for everything. So I just got the dedicated lenses. It runs.
Yeah, well, I have the bigger camera, and most of my lenses were bought for the full DSLR, DSLR, whatever.
Yeah,
Rich?
DSLR.
There you go. Instead of the mirrorless camera. So I got the adapter. In fact, I just got for Father's Day, I just got a new telescopic lens for my camera.
Yeah, I got a T2i in my bag somewhere that I think the focus is off. I don't know if the sensor moved or something, but I have no idea who would even service it.
There's a place in Ashburn that would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, when I did pro stuff, I mean, it's been a long time. So, Tim, what printers are you printing with?
Prusa's and one Bamboo Lab. So,
which Bamboo do you have?
P1P.
P1P. Do you have the AMS?
Nope. I really the AMS does not impress me at all. I have no purpose for it.
So aren't you doing like TPU on the grips?
I know actually. I just paint the grips. I did do TPU on a few grips, but that was with an IDEX. That was with a Soval SVO6 or no, I was SVO4, the Soval IDEX printer, which I also wasn't impressed with. Had a lot of problems with it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. What I like about the AMS, I have an AMS, is that you can load up multiple like different filaments, and I'm lazy.
No, so that does actually I haven't really thought about that part before. That does actually make sense. My problem with the AMS is not being able to print with TPU, huge problem for me, and also not being able to print with dissolvable support and high temperature filaments at the same time because you're running them through the same nozzle, you run into problems. So trying to run carbon fiber nylon and dissolvable support doesn't work out too well. So I feel like I wish they had done an IDEX version. Like there aren't really any companies making a nice IDEX. They all have problems, and that slicers don't support IDEX super well either. It's just being able to print. But yeah, I mean, that is a good point. If you have multiple different types of filaments and you can just purge one out, you're not trying to do changes mid-print, that could make sense. But then again, I run a lot of stuff off of 2 and 3 kilogram rolls. So that would be, I have to rig up how I'm going to run off of those.
Well, you can do, they have the Hydra mod for the AMS that lets you do 2 and 3 kilogram rolls.
Yeah.
Also, Yeah, they have a lot of little things. They got like a Y splitter so you can run stuff from the external rolls. I do have a flash forge that I do dissolvable.
I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it has
So-
2 different nozzles, so I did do dissolvable support.
And that's the right way to do it, I think. If you're going to do it 2 separate, or an IDEX style setup with independent extruders, that's the right way to do dual filament for engineering applications. It just, I mean, and just for what I needed, I got the P1P, not one of the other printers, because it had shorter lead time. I didn't need those features for what I got it for. Just printing parts for kits, it runs just fine. Though I've had actually a lot.
Are you printing through the cloud with the P1P or printing direct?
Everything I have prints off SD cards.
Oh, okay.
That's the way I do it. So,
and the carbon, it doesn't have an SD slot. Well, it has a micro SD.
No, it's micro SD. The P1P is the same way. It's micro SD. It's a little bit of an inconvenience, but not. I have an adapter right there, so not really too big of a problem.
I'm a lazy ass. I was using Octoprint forever. So.
Oh yeah.
So all right. You glossed over.
Since you both have bamboos, there is a fork of the bamboo slicer that allows you to interface with Octoprint.
Oh yeah,
interesting. I actually don't use bamboo slicer. I configured Prusa slicer to work with the Bamboo Labs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically Bamboo took a perfectly good slicer, Prusa slicer, and then changed the interface to be more like Cura. And Cura has no benefits. It's horrible. So they did a poor, crappy job of that, in my opinion. So I still use it for some stuff if I just want to print something using their settings quickly. But if I'm doing most of my prints, I just do it in Prusa slicer. I mean, it's mixed. I go back and forth depending on what I want to do. But a lot of stuff I used to use Prusa slicer.
Yeah, with Bamboo, you can send stuff directly to the printer. Originally, the P1P, the firmware didn't allow it, but I don't know when the upgrade came out. I think it was early this year that it came out that you can print direct. So there's one other feature about the Soval that we glossed over is they'll dox you. So you maybe.
Oh, I missed that actually. I actually missed that. Yeah, they sent me. They have my address. They sent me one for review. So I missed that. Though. That's
you don't know what I'm talking about, do you, Tim?
No, that's what I'm saying. I missed that. Yeah.
Well, they doxed PSR
recently, like very recently, or
a couple weeks ago, I think.
I don't know how I missed. Did he have that on Twitter?
It was
yeah.
They responded to him like, hey, in the real name. You said that.
Yeah.
You said that you were gonna get this done.
I see. Yeah,
but you're not responding to us. Let us know what's going on.
Well, you have garbage product, so maybe it's not worth doing a review on it. Well, I totally missed that. Yeah, that's not very cool.
Well, I'll tell you I got a cheap Chinese flashlight from somebody at SHOT Show, and I'm like, hey, it flickers. I'm not pimping this. They're like, can you get me a recording? It's intermittent. I'm not spending a whole day playing with your. I shouldn't have did that. Playing with your flashlight to see if it's going to go intermittent. I'm not recording in hours. I'm like, I'll send it back to you. They're like, okay, good. Send it to this address and insure it. I'm like, I figured I would say I'm sending it back and I'd never hear from them again. They're like, oh yeah, make sure you insure it. Blah blah blah. Give us the tracking. I'm like, oh frick me, because they actually kept calling me up.
Wow.
I'm like, they are.
Oh, light.
No, it's I don't even know what light. Hold on, I actually have the box.
I get a lot of offers for people. A lot of companies send me emails. Chinese companies wanting me to review their printer or their this or their that. And that's my business email. Most of the stuff is filtered out because most of them send it to my Gmail, YouTube email, and I just clean that out every once in a while. That's all the garbage, unrelated, not firearms. Like, why would I want to do that stuff? But Soval, I was interested in IDEX, so I actually accepted their review, said, sure, send me one. And I had it for like 6 weeks, 2 months. It was a while. And I actually spent a long time putting together a detailed video on it, all the problems I had. I was just very not impressed. It was, yeah. So, and I never heard back from them. And I gave the printer away actually, but it's,
so I shouldn't get an SV06.
Well, so that's the thing. I've heard, actually I have, what's that right there? Is that an SV06? It'll say on the front. I think I actually have. Is that an SV05?
The SV06 is
It's a Prusa clone, kind of.
yeah, it's kind of it's like a Prusa clone, but it's like 300 by 340.
Okay, well, I have the smaller one. It's like a complete Prusa clone sitting over here. I haven't bothered to mess with it yet. Yeah, that it's probably better. The companies like Soval seem to have extreme inconsistent. Their products are inconsistent. They don't have like the same guy designing everything. They just like throw it together. So some of them are good, some of them are bad. I've actually heard good things about their. I think it's the SV05 or SV06. One of them I've heard good things about.
Well, the SV05 and SV06 is basically the same printer. It's just a little bit bigger.
Different. Yeah, I think I had the SV05 over here then. It's the smaller one. And I have heard good things about it. And it's a Prusa clone. So, I mean, I guess they're doing something right. But I haven't bothered running it yet. It's the SV04 I was not impressed with. Other people, maybe I got a lemon or something. I don't know. I just had a lot of issues with the Z banding.
Well, I've had a lot of problems with the
Bamboo
with my carbon, but I think I figured out what it is. It doesn't like the table.
That's weird.
Flimsy table.
Well, the table is not flimsy. That's the thing. I just moved it. The table, it just vibrates in a different way.
That's interesting.
So I don't know if it's like a resonance issue or what.
So I've actually had a number of issues. So I mean, the Bamboo has some really impressive stuff on it. Overall, I think that it's a little hyped. Like I'm not like blown away by it. It's just another printer. I like some of the features. I've actually had a number of issues with hot end clogs, different stuff jamming.
Really?
If the extruder motor gets too hot inside of the enclosure, I've had issues with the motor losing torque and skipping steps if it gets too hot in the enclosure. You know, like above 130 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that is in Celsius. So and just today I'm printing with a ton of carbon fiber though. So I mean, carbon fiber clogs more, but still it's something to do with the nozzle geometry or something. I've just been getting I also don't like the firmware on the P1P. I'm sure that the X1 and the X is much better. It's got a nice touchscreen interface, but still I feel like they could have done a better job with the way the menus work and stuff. The way you the way you load filament.
1980s.
It's just like nice hardware, but then they didn't like there's a few little things. Overall, I mean, it seems like a good printer. That's what if I recommend a printer to someone, that's what it'll be because it's so cheap for all the features it has on it. You know, it's a ready to go printer.
The P1P. So, you know, I think last time you were on the show, you were like throwing shade.
I did want to answer Ron Bear's question. Oh, my LiDAR actually does work with stopping bad first layers. You just get tons of bad first layers. Not since I moved.
But looking at what some of the testing that 3D Print General did, Sean did a bunch of testing, and the LiDAR does it detects bad first layers, but the LiDAR doesn't actually really do very much to help actually calibrate the extrusion and
no
all of that. It's supposed to, but that's a little gimmicky. So I find the P1P, I would always go ahead and just buy the X1 because it comes with an enclosure. You know, without the AMS, that's the one I would probably recommend the most because it comes with an enclosure. And if you're going to build an enclosure, by the time you build the enclosure, put a cable chain on, all of that stuff, you're up to the same amount of money, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm much more ghetto. I've been using the contractor trash bag.
Oh, yeah, I did that Vision enclosure mod where like you put panels on the outside and stuff. So
yeah, I actually on Etsy ordered the panels and printed out all the parts. I just haven't put it together yet.
Oh, okay. I was so new to it, I had to get them cut send. No one was selling them yet.
Ah, okay.
So that was expensive, but I mean,
I was going to say send was pretty. I priced it out with them. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it was more expensive. I was like, that it doesn't matter. I didn't get it to save money. I got it because it quickly, you know, it was shipped. The other one had a few weeks. It was kind of open ended at the time. So yeah, I mean, it's a good printer. Bamboo Lab, good printer. I'm not blown away by it. It's a solid printer. Like the whole printing fast. It's a good printer. It's a good XY. I really, really like my favorite feature is the bed calibration is really solid. It's the most solid first layer, really consistent first layers. I really like that.
Right.
I don't care for the bed surfaces that they provide for it. Aren't as good as the Prusa surfaces. I'll have to look into some aftermarket sheets. There's different stuff available.
Well, do you use stick glue?
Yeah, I use like the Vision Miner adhesive. I'll use Magic Glue. One of those two normally, depending what I'm printing. But
so all right, I was the kind of guy, I was like Ender 3 all the way with, Octoprint and all that crap. And I was like, bed leveling, schmed leveling. Who needs that? If you're not rocking the bed, like if you pull the print surface off the bed and then pop the part from that, you're not, jockeying the bed around.
Yeah, I
you
agree.
don't have to re-level. And I was like, I had thought first at that time, I'm like, you spend $400 or $600 on a Prusa, you're out of your mind. And then I got the Bamboo P1P. I was like, holy freaking cow! This is worth every penny of $700. Definitely.
Yeah, and for the cost. So the Prusas, I have 4 Prusas, and I mean, and people, kind of hate on me for that, like old obsolete printers. And the hardware in the Prusas is horrible. I mean, it's like it's so obsolete. It's just like an old bed slinger. Like they're quite crude. However, just they're really well. I have 20 months on my oldest Prusa, I think. I mean, I've close to 2 years of continuous print time on it. They just keep they're very reliable. They have excellent firmware on them. They integrate really well with their slicer, which I think is the best slicer out there.
The Honda of
but they've raised their prices and they're just really expensive. So I can't recommend one over a P1P now, really. But
right. And I kind of thought like 3D printing, home 3D printing wouldn't get to P1P levels for years. I figured it would be years into the future. And I'm pretty shocked. And again, competition brings out the best because now Creality's got their K1 and they're, bringing out a competitor to it. The thing that I don't like about the Bamboo is I'm going to confess something really stupid. It was at night. I was setting up a print. I'd sliced it and I was heating the bed. I didn't put the print surface on the printer.
Yep.
I woke up the next morning. There was the print head had a glob this big of carbon fiber all around.
Did it damage the magnetic bed at all?
No.
Oh, that's good. The second thing I like about it with the Bamboo Lab is how easy it is to replace the entire hot end, throw it away, and put a new one on. I like it. It is
all right, but here's the beef, and again, so Prusa, Creality, ANET, all of them are open source. You can download the files. And like, what I needed was the plastic around the print head.
Yeah.
Because that was all jammed up with carbon fiber nylon, which was harder material than the plastic around the print head. So the duct and the shroud, I needed a new one, which I can't print. So I spent like 3 frickin' hours with a soldering iron, heating it up, needle nose pliers, pulling the strands out, heating it up again, pulling this. I spent, 3 hours of my damn time effing with the thing, which totally sucked.
Yeah.
But so that's my beef with them. If it was open source,
along those lines, and I understand kind of. I don't think they're buying themselves anything by going closed source. I know there's a whole argument there, and I think 3D printing nerd, or who was it? I think it's there was just he just did one of the big 3D printing YouTubers just did a big video on open source and like it's dying and stuff, and they had different issues with it. But my biggest beef with it not being open source is their similarity to DJI. So you're obviously familiar with DJI, right?
No, they came from DJI.
Yeah. DJI is probably my least favorite company. I think they're probably one of the worst companies in the world today. Yeah. I hate them. They're just absolutely horrible.
They make good shit.
They do, but then they lock it down so you can't actually use it for anything. So they have excellent hardware, kind of like Bamboo Labs, but then they have all their firmware locks everything down. So you have to register it when you get it in order to use it. It's bricked until you register it. Their drones are unusable for anything interesting because of the firmware limitations on them. It's just I don't like that. It's basically, do you actually own your product? Do you own it, or do they own it and they're letting you use it? Which one is it? So my concern with Bamboo Lab is sometime in the future they might go in that direction, under political pressure. That's my concern. They might do a firmware update. I don't know. I mean, their X1 has the camera on board. It has some sort of vision system that can recognize failed prints. It has the capability, theoretically, to recognize certain files or certain types. I'm kind of getting out there, but that's just, if you understand where I'm going, that's my concern.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a really valid concern.
So all right, I have home automation, I have AI watching my cameras and stuff like that. My paradigm is everything stays on the network. So when I was doing Spaghetti Detective, I had on-prem Spaghetti Detective. I wasn't going out to the cloud for it. And the Bamboo, it's all cloud, which kind of annoys me.
Yeah.
No, the Raven says 3D printing seems so dang complicated, though, and it's really not.
Yeah.
It's
Not
like
really.
making sandcastles, except with a hot glue gun on a robot arm.
Yeah, it's not really complicated. And with the printers out there now, you can buy one and within 15 minutes be printing.
Yeah,
and not really knowing anything, and for the most part, the stock settings on like a P1P or whatever, the stock settings in the slicer is pretty good.
Well, that's one of my complaints with it is their stock settings aren't that. I mean, compared to like Prusa Slicer, their stock settings aren't very dialed in. But
really?
it's totally usable. I mean, you can just grab it and slice.
That's what I'm talking about. Like if you've never printed anything.
Oh yeah. They work. They actually work compared to what it could be. Yeah.
So what do you think needs tweaking on the P1P
Where?
or the Bamboo? You're saying the slicer settings.
Yeah, they have a lot of line width settings, infill. I have to go over it and look at it, but I always have to go through there and change a bunch of stuff. They're doing like their support settings, their support in Bamboo Slicer is actually quite buggy, especially if you start trying to use support enforcers and such. Weird stuff. I've had weird stuff happen. It doesn't do the interface properly. They'll probably fix it with future releases, but
wall loops.
So I've typically been just checking minimal and tree support.
Well, here's the thing. Damn it! What is that slicer? Hold on.
Orca Slicer.
Orca, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's funny. Orca. I thought that was funny. They called it Orca, but
yeah, I don't know why my mind locked up, but I think their settings compared to the Bamboo, it doesn't print as fast if you use Orca, but I do think that their settings are better.
Yep. The first thing I do, by the way, is I slow everything down to like 50 millimeters per second. So I print super slow anyway. I mean, if you don't need to print fast, don't. It's my logic.
That's for layer adhesion.
Slightly better line adhesion. It's not that big of a difference, but for my testing I've done in the past, it's greater than 10%.
I can tell you, so once.
What do you say?
I was
wall loops.
You mean wall count?
No,
the support
loops
for the support.
No, in the strength, like.
You're talking about the wall count, the number of walls.
Yeah,
I haven't heard loops before actually, but yeah, wall count.
Well, that's what Bamboo calls it.
Oh yeah, see why do they change weird terminology? Oh, I have like a laser on my chest.
I know the wall loops are set to like 2 instead of 3.
Yeah, but I mean that's something you would tweak depending on the part you're printing anyway.
Yeah,
I mean you might want
make
8,
it 99 and you're good.
No, that's the wrong way of doing it. No. Infill. But yeah, I mean it's a solid printer. It's a solid setup. It's when people ask me what printer should I get, I want to get a nicer printer. That's the one I recommend. Get yourself a P1P, get an X1. It's a solid machine. It's the best bang for your buck currently. So, but I look forward to seeing what other manufacturers come out with that's possibly open source.
No, I know. Joseph Prusa wrote this open letter recently.
Did he say, "Forgive me, I have failed"? What did he say?
No, about open source versus closed source and different new companies coming out there. And
I hope Prusa steps up to a good Core XY printer.
Well, here's the thing: Bamboo forked Prusa Slicer, and part of the licensing is that you're allowed to fork it, but you have to keep it open source.
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's almost everybody. Yeah.
And they didn't keep it open source.
But they didn't. There was a little. They did it, but then they released it later. There was, there was I think it was a little over. People got a little too excited about it. They did release it though, so I mean, it is open as far as I know.
Yeah, but Joseph,
he did. Yeah,
Joseph Prusa. You read his open letter. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
He's like his argument is by companies going closed source that is gonna stop innovation.
But But
yeah,
Prusa's open source and they haven't innovated. I don't.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't.
And I don't mean to do Josip Prus a disservice. I mean, I think what he did is phenomenal. I think that ship has sailed. Unfortunately, they have not kept up. But Bamboo ate everybody's lunch.
Well, the price of a Prusa, like the Mark IV, is.
Yeah, the Prusas. Well, the biggest thing with the Bamboo is it's so cheap. For a print all the features, it's really, really cheap. It's a mass-produced Chinese printer. They did a really good job with their production, getting it super low cost. I would say that's the biggest thing with it. It's a really good printer that's low cost. But it's not magic. Like I never got super excited about the P1P or the Bamboo at all. I think it's a great printer. I'm glad it's out, but it's not like it's not 10 times better, or it's not even twice as good as existing printers. It does the job. It does a good job. I mean, that's good. No complaints. But it's not like magic or something to get super excited about. I think people getting excited was people using like poorly configured garbage enders, which they had set up improperly. And then when they made the jump from that to the Bamboo, the contrast there is so great that it looks really impressive. But if you compare it to something like a Prusa, as far as actual functioning, even though the Prusa is ridiculously crude and obsolete, it's not that much better. That's my opinion of it. Because printing super, super fast doesn't do that much for me.
It doesn't. It depends on what your market is. And so, if you're printing carbon fiber nylon, no, printing fast has no business. If you're printing,
so the
PLA
print time
parts like this, then printing fast is
the print time. A lot of people like get obsessed with like how the first thing you tell someone is they ask how long does it take. You tell them this takes 20 hours. Like, wow, 20 hours. That shocks people who don't know much about it, because they're developing a picture in their head of spending 20 hours building something, and like you're just 20 hours of wasted time. But with a little bit of planning, you just have a workflow that keeps moving. It's running for 20 hours. It pops off the print. You just keep going. You get whatever you're putting next going. It's not a big deal for me. It's once you start actually doing it, longer print times, bigger parts. It's not too big of an issue.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, printing fast is cool and all, but it's nice to have it there. I'll say that. It's nice to have it there, but it's not something that gets me super excited.
So I guess we haven't talked about a lot of stuff with you. You got the Orca out. What version of the Orca are you on?
It's same as the release version 5.3. So we've done the updated handguard for it, but that's really about it. That's the only update I've done since releasing it. And
what kind of accuracy are you getting with the Orca?
About 6 MOA once the barrel mount is, and that's actually the Orca that's right up. Let's see. It's that Orca right there.
Cool.
The barrel mount is epoxy bedded, and that one's doing about 6 MOA. It's about as good as I'm able to get. And it still shifts a little bit. So including shifting for a lot of shooting, like 8 MOA, I would say 6 to 8, somewhere in there. So that's about, I have not been able to get it any better than that. That's about what we've done. And I've done a lot of testing with it.
Your we can't say the .com portion, but your Hoffman Tactical, people can find you somewhere.
Yes. Yeah.
And you sell kits, right?
Oh yeah. We have all the kits up. We have kits for the Orca. We actually started selling complete kits. So I've got barrels from a manufacturer. So we're selling barrels actually as well now. So like kind of everything for the Orca in one kit.
That's the Orca right there.
Yeah. So that's that.
What does a parts kit cost?
Expensive. Well, it depends what you want to do. So I don't sell just one kit. We have the reinforcement kit, which is like $60, and that's all of the custom parts. Your hose clamps, basically everything that doesn't everything that's not PLA. So if you want to print this in PLA, which is not as good as doing something higher temperature, but it does work just fine. All of the clips and the barrel mounts are already pre-printed in carbon fiber nylon, and it's ready to go. That's like a $60 kit. And then I have the combo kit, which has all the lower parts. And then there's the complete kit, which is everything you need, but the major printed components. That's like $480. So it's definitely more expensive. You can build it for a lot less if you source more budget components from you shop around a bit. So
cool.
There's a number of options. But yeah, other than that, I've been working on other projects, but we've just been a little bit slow this year. I feel like I'm a little sluggish on development. We haven't gotten that much out. Really, the Orca was released back.
You also have a 308, right?
Like a 308 lower.
Yeah, are you doing a fully printed 308?
I haven't started yet. I plan on it. It should be a pretty straightforward project, but I haven't started on it yet. I do plan on doing a 308 Orca here.
Andrew Simpson says, "What about the new improved lower?"
Yeah, that's the big project I'm working. Well, that's one of them. That's the project I'm working on right now. It's got a new buffer band on it. In fact, I have one right here. So we're replacing the hose clamp is kind of the idea with a proprietary buffer band. Proprietary. It will be released with everything else, but it's right here. This is just the buffer tower. So I was just working on that today, and it's just a steel band. It uses a pocket. A screw pulls into a pocket, and it pulls it down tight. And it's all completely streamlined. I'm going to have a cover that covers the screw up. So it'll be completely streamlined, no worm drive or anything from the hose clamp. So that's one of the things I'm working. I'm going to have an option for both printable and easier to machine. I'm redesigning the front plates so they're a lot lower cost to machine. The previous ones were a lot too complex to be doing subtractive.
So are you sandwiching the barrel extension? Is that what you're doing like the Orca 2?
You mean with the Orca?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was just an air lower we're looking at. It wasn't an Orca. But on the Orca, I'm actually using Ivan's more like Ivan's MP5. So I'm using a clamshell that clamps on it. I've made a few changes. I've tapered the clamshell. It's probably the biggest one. But yeah, what Invader Zip is doing is he is clamping the barrel extension ring, which I think. Yeah, exactly. Between steel plates, which I think should give really good results accuracy wise. I haven't seen any testing done it yet, but I'd like to see accuracy testing. I got one of his kits. I just haven't built it yet.
I got everything printed. I haven't put it together yet.
My problem is that he uses metric threaded rods. Who does that? So I have to go source metric threaded rods somewhere. But yeah, I think that should actually be pretty accurate because the way it's clamping the barrel is just like it's clamped on that's how the AR-15 was designed. If you look at how a conventional AR-15 works, the barrel mount clamps the lip of the barrel extension instead of clamping the diameter. So that's I think a good way. It's more challenging to do, and it's a bit bulkier and requires those threaded rods. But I think it's a good solution. So I'm interested to see what kind of accuracy that gets.
I'm thinking about doing a 3D the 3D P90.
Why?
That's a cool project.
It's a neat project, but I think there's some parts that are tough to source on that.
Well, you can buy a kit.
Yeah, Walter from Safety Harbor Firearms says McMastercard has those.
Oh, I know they do. I mean, I buy from them all the time, but I just need to do it. Like I have to go place them in there and actually order them and pay for it, and I just haven't bothered. Like if it was something I could just drop by the local hardware store and grab some quarter 20 or some basic American
is
threads.
Your local hardware store barefoot friendly?
Yes. Well, I mean, not officially, but yes, absolutely. Yeah. I know McMasterCard has metric threaded rods. I'm very familiar with McMasterCard, so we don't. I just have to do that.
So on your Twitter, what was that part you were showing? It was, I don't know if it was carbon fiber nylon, and it had some you said, some things are easier to do with 3D printing as opposed to conventional machining.
Yeah, that was so I'm slowly trying to figure out how to do a belt fed AR-15, and that is one of the parts for it. So I have it right here, actually. I mean, no reason hiding the whole thing. No one will see that. I don't want to get too excited, but it's basically a cassette that feeds the belt. So the belt feeds in here, and then it wraps around here, and then the rounds are stripped off here, and you can't see it here. Maybe I have one. Let's see. Yeah, the piece I was showing is this guy right here. It goes inside here, and there's a cam track on the inside, kind of like a continuous ratcheting track, and a reciprocating rod inside indexes this every time the rod reciprocates. There's an internal spring mechanism. So yeah, the whole idea is this will simulate a magazine. It can tilt up and down under spring force. So this will simulate a magazine and be fed from the belt, basically. But there's a lot of issues to work out. And then one of the bigger issues is getting force out of getting work out of the weapon to be used to feed your belt. So I'm going to try to do that back by the buffer tube, adding a slot back there, but things don't line up quite right. So there's a lot to figure out. At this point, I don't know if it's actually going to work or not. I have everything. I got like many pages of my notebook. I got everything worked out to a point where it definitely looks practical, but there's a lot of geometry to figure out and actually see if it works for sure. And it's going to be it's not going to be like an upper. It's going to have to be an entire AR-15. So it's going to be an Orca variant, variant belt fed. But we will see. We will see where that goes. It's complicated.
Now, did I see you firing an Orca full auto?
No, never have.
Oh, okay.
That was that may have been we did do that a few times actually with the active trigger, the super safety. So
okay.
And that's also working on, and that's why I'm looking at this rare breed case and everything. So the super safety is I developed it starting last year, early last year actually. After we received the cease and desist from Rare Breed, I spent a long time looking at other options, and it's a completely unique device. I actually filed a provisional patent on it. I'm not gonna, just in case, I'm not gonna move forward with it. I'm not a fan of patents, but it's a unique, very functional active trigger system, and it's selectable, so you can turn it on and off with a click of a button. But it's at this point pretty mature. We're doing beta testing, and it'll be released probably 4th of July.
That's crazy. And so that's going to be metal, right?
I mean, it's 3D printable, so no, it's just a file. It's optimized for metal. The problem is selling it is obviously,
So what would you print that out of? What material?
Probably PA12 carbon fiber nylon from Polymaker.
Okay.
It's you have to get the good resolution, you have to print it with a 1/4 millimeter nozzle, though possibly larger nozzles could work. We're doing testing and people are getting decent results with larger nozzles, but I've always printed with a 1/4 millimeter to get the right resolution. Yeah, so everyone's obsessed with going bigger because people are impatient and they want prints faster, but I think smaller is better. I've actually printed quite a bit of stuff with a 0.15 millimeter nozzle. At that point, you really are limited to PLA because of clogging, but you can get prints that are basically resin print levels of detail on an FDM printer without all of the pain and suffering of resin. So I think more people should use small nozzles. Like, they're out there, try one out. Everything's not about speed. So using a 1/4 millimeter nozzle, the problem you run into is clogging, but the PA12 carbon fiber, I've had very few clogging issues because the fibers are so small that it in low enough quantity where it actually will print quite reliably, and it maintains the stiffness and wear resistance needed. PLA, polycarbonate, ABS will wear out very, very, very quickly. Nylon's a lot more wear resistant, but nylons like PA6 are simply too flexible. To make them stiff enough, you have to add a lot of carbon fiber, and then you start clogging with a small nozzle. So PA12 carbon fiber is the only one I found that meets all the requirements for me. So that's what I've been using, and it works.
The difference between PA12 and PA6, is it not the carbon fiber, it's the material?
It's the type of nylon. Yeah, there's a lot of, and I don't fully understand nylon chemistry. There's a lot of different nylon types, blends and such, and PA12 just absorbs. It's a little bit weaker and significantly lower temperature resistance. And it has a huge problem with creep, which is why I actually was kind of using it a lot. I thought it was a great material, but the creep makes it not good for a lot of things. So I would not recommend it for most parts, unfortunately, right now. But
I've been printing all of my carbon fiber using PA6.
Same here. Most of what I do for bigger parts is PA6. It's not as stiff once it absorbs water. In order to counteract that, they have to add a lot more fibers to it. So the fiber content in PA6 is higher, and that brings most of its stiffness back, but it's still a little more flexible. The PA12 doesn't absorb nearly as much water and maintains its stiffness without the need for more fibers. So that's kind of the difference there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I have actually had the cams, the super safety, printed in metal, and but that's not something that most people would do. But yeah, metal 3D printing is here. It's actually quite low cost and pretty cool.
Yeah, metal printing is really, really, really cool. It used to be like a lot more expensive than what it was. I remember when I first looked into it, years ago, it was like insanely expensive.
It's quite accessible now. It's I mean, if you only want to get one part made, it's expensive. But if you're going to get a run of 100 made or something, the prices are a lot more than doing investment castings. But your quantities needed are much lower still, and more importantly, your lead time is very, very short, and you're not committing to a mold. So and you can get very close to investment quality, casting quality. It's really quite impressive. So metal 3D printing is has arrived, and it's for a lot of parts. I think it's going to be replacing investment casting for smaller companies, just due to being able to make changes, being able to have quicker turnaround times. Investment casting, you're looking basically at 1 year, and that's ridiculous. Yeah, it's. I looked into a bunch of investment casting, got some quotes from companies, and it's the best one I got was 9 months, and that's probably not realistic. That was like best case. So it's
now, is there just such a high lead time in investment casting because there's only a few places that do that?
I have the same question, and as far as I can tell, that's basically what it is. It's a pretty specialized thing to do the whole process, and they just like to take their time.
Because it seems to me, we have this Amazon world. I mean, I can actually order something and have it later in the day on occasion.
It's not custom. Not custom.
Right. Yeah, I got that. But I'm saying that we're getting geared towards like DLD hardware.
Only on the consumer entertainment side. If you want to actually get on a brass tacks, not really.
Yeah. People get mad at Dark because it's somebody orders something and it's not in their hands in less than 48 hours. He's
people
like
so impatient. Like they want print fast. People need to be more patient, guys. Like just order something and it just plan your life so you have 2 weeks of planning, and then everything will there's no problem. Kind of look out 2 weeks ahead of time instead of instantly, and you'll be much better.
Right.
But yeah, 1 year is actually too much. That's ridiculous. And the problem is 1 year later, you do testing, you need to make some design changes, you got to pay for another mold, and it's a big problem. Your costs when you do investment casting, you're looking at like $4 a piece, and 3D printing is going to be 4 times that for a run. That's so if you order like 5,000 pieces with investment casting, you're going to look at like $4 a piece for part X, whatever it is. And if you're going to get it 3D printed, you order 1,000 parts, it'll be around like asymptote around $20 a piece. So you're looking at 4 to 5 times the per part cost, which seems like a lot. However, your initial investment is much smaller. There is no mold. With investment casting right up front, you're paying 10 grand plus for a mold to be made.
Oh, shoot. And if you need a change in it,
another 10 grand, another year. Yeah, exactly. So it's a challenging industry to be involved with doing metal casting. And that's 3D printing makes it is attractive because of the quick turnaround times, lower quantities, and you can do a run of 10 parts. They'll be significantly more expensive, but if you're just doing testing, you can order 10 here, 10 there, and it's a lot more interesting. Yeah, so the metal printing has a few different processes. The company I use uses a kind of, it's basically MJF. So they're starting with a metal powder. They're using it's like binder jetting. So they're using a metal powder, and then they binder jet the metal powder together with a polymer binder, and then they take that part and they sinter the part afterwards. So it's kind of like if you've seen, I think it's 3D Forge, or there's a company that sells stainless steel filaments and stuff, and it's a similar concept that you print a part, a metal powder with a binder, and then you sinter that out. And it's not an easy process because the sintering part, maintaining dimensional accuracy, is tricky. But they've got it down to a pretty good science. It actually took a while to get dimensions dialed in. They still had issues with shrinkage, but once it's dialed in, consistency is excellent, and surface finish is excellent. And that's the process they use. There's direct metal laser sintering, which is where they use a laser to directly sinter metal powder together. The surface finish isn't as nice though. From the parts I've gotten that are DMLS, it's quite a bit rougher.
Oh, very interesting.
But yeah, metal. Yeah, the equipment is expensive, but as far as getting a contract made right now, it's very feasible for small companies to do.
Well, that is definitely interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
the world is changing very, very fast. And I think 3D printing is going to become more and more user friendly over time. I still don't think it is for everyone. I don't think it is 100% good to go. with like the normies, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not interested in the process, you'll have a challenge. If you just want to like print a part and then move on, even it's still a manufacturing process that's more complicated than just printing a document on your printer.
Well, that's what a lot of people are thinking that it is.
Yeah, but
like, no.
There's always more. You need to know why you're making a part, what the parts. I mean, you always need to know more. You're actually making a functional item. You're not just printing a document. Right. So it sounds, when you just think about it in a shallow way.
Do you want to print it this way? Do you want to print it this way? There's reasons for each why you would do it. You might want to print it 45 degrees angle.
And you can have a computer do all that for you at some point, but there's still, you need to know why you're printing the part. I mean, it's still a manufacturing process that requires some level of understanding and some level of wanting to know how it works. If you're not interested in knowing how it works, you're probably going to struggle.
What I'm saying is like with or like a paper printer, like a regular printer. If you get a paper jam, you grab the paper and you pull it out.
Yeah.
If you get a jam on a bamboo, for example, or any type of 3D printer, if a nozzle clog or whatever, the process of fixing that is a little bit more intense.
All I got to say to Frag Out is we're here for you if you need help.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that is 3D printing is not for adults. Yeah, you actually have to like want to learn like how to like clear a clog and stuff like that. It's not as simple.
Yeah, it's basically if you want to learn how to do it, you'll figure it out. If you're just interested in just printing parts for your garden and you don't actually care how it works, I mean, you might run into problems.
Yeah.
So Tim, I think the one question everybody wants to know is, have you actually seen PSR without the face mask?
Oh, of course, yes. Great guy. Yeah, he needs to keep the mask on though. It's like I tell him it's important for his brand. If he took that mask off, a lot of people.
Oh, I thought you were saying it's important for his look.
Well, that too. It's just. It's not a bad-looking guy. It's just important to.
I get it.
I think the mask is great. Some people don't like the mask. I strongly disagree with them. The mask
I think helps. It's a great thing.
The brand fits together so well with that mask. He really did an excellent job kind of thinking out the whole brand and making everything fit together well. So that mask, I'm hoping stays on indefinitely. So most of you guys probably aren't going to see that face.
Yeah. I can tell you where to see it at. Just joking. That's a joke. All right, Tim. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Absolutely.
People,
thanks for having me.
People where they can go and support you so you can buy a pair of shoes finally.
So Hoffman Tactical on basically all the social medias. So not Facebook, but all the social medias that matter. So Instagram, Twitter, Odyssey, YouTube, as well as my website. Hoffman Tactical. Google is your friend, and I am being a little facetious there, but really Google does actually work for finding me. So just Hoffman Tactical and Google, you'll find me.
All right, that works. Yeah, and maybe if we all support him and give him a couple dollars or buy some stuff from him, maybe he can finally afford a pair of shoes. All right. You can follow Rich at Flying Rich Firearms, Flying Rich on everywhere besides Instagram. We're Flying Rich _official. And we will be back tomorrow with who, Rich?
I have no idea yet. Why would I know?
Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. With that, we're out of here. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you're listening to anywhere, we are on the Firearms Radio Network. So if you're listening to us on Spotify or wherever, have fun.